One word, that's all it took. Just one word to turn the most dangerous room in all of New York City into a room full of dead silence. And that word, baby, a word that she whispered by accident, a word that should have gotten her killed. But instead, it changed her entire life forever. So let's talk about it, okay? So meet our girl, Emma Hayes. Emma is a paralegal student at NYU. She's smart, she's hardworking, and right now, she is drowning in student loans. She is not supposed to be waitressing at a high-end secret club in Tribeca, but her sister Rachel called her in a total panic. Rachel needed $5,000 emergency surgery for her little daughter Lily. So Emma said yes and picked up the shift. Now, this place, the Obsidian Room, is not just a regular nightclub. Nope. It's basically a fortress underground, in the basement of a plain, boring building in Tribeca. This is where the city's super powerful, super dangerous people come to talk about things they can't say on the phone. You understand what I'm saying, so Emma is in the hot, steamy kitchen, sweating through her server uniform, when her manager, a nervous little man named Mr. Henderson, shoves a crystal tray into her hands. Table 4 needs a refill on the Louis. Now, Hayes, he hisses at her. And for God's sake, do not look them in the eye. You drop that bottle. Your life isn't worth the glass shards. Okay. Scary, got it. Emma has her wireless earpiece in under her hair. She's been keeping the line open for her sister Rachel, who is having a complete breakdown at the hospital. I can't do this, Emma. Rachel is sobbing in her ear. The doctors are saying if we don't pay the deposit in an hour. Emma pushes through the velvet curtains into the VIP lounge. The air changes instantly. Expensive cigars, leather, gunpowder hiding behind cologne. Men in $5,000 suits sit in the shadows. And at table 4, sitting there, looking like he was carved out of marble and bad dreams. That's Daniel Merritt. Even Emma, who keeps her nose buried in law books, knows that name. The newspapers call him a shipping magnate. The streets call him something else. They call him the Reaper. Daniel is sitting across from a rival mob boss named Lucas, a guy from the rival Ross family. The tension between them is thick enough to choke on. Daniel's hand is resting on the table, but his knuckles are white. You think you can squeeze me out of the waterfront contracts? Daniel growls. I built those docks. Lucas smirks. Times change, Daniel. Maybe you're going soft. Emma quietly reaches over to place a coaster on the table. Her hands are trembling. In her ear, Rachel's sobs are getting worse. I'm going to lose her, Emma. I'm going to lose my baby. Emma's heart breaks. Without even thinking, completely forgetting, she is standing between two mob bosses on the edge of war. She reaches up and unmutes her earpiece. She leans over the table, and right at that moment, Daniel slams his hand on the table to make a point to Lucas. Emma flinches, the cognac bottle wobbles, and she whispers urgently into the headset. It's okay, baby. Just breathe. I'm handling it. The silence that follows is absolute. Lucas's jaw drops. The 3 bodyguards behind Daniel go stiff, hands sliding into their jackets. Emma freezes. She just realized her mistake. She wasn't looking at her earpiece. She was looking directly at Daniel Merritt. Daniel slowly turns his head. His eyes, the color of storm clouds, cold and calculating, land on her. He ignores Lucas completely. He ignores the millions of dollars in contracts. He looks up at the trembling waitress who just called the most feared man in New York. Baby. And Daniel doesn't shout. He doesn't draw a weapon. He just leans back in his leather chair. A slow, dangerous smile curls the corner of his lip. Excuse me, he says, his voice dropping an entire octave. Emma's blood runs cold. I'm so sorry, sir. I wasn't. I didn't mean. Daniel raises one hand and she goes quiet. He stands up. He is massive, over 6'3", radiating heat and power that makes her knees weak. He takes one step closer, trapping her between the table and his body. He leans down, lips brushing her ear, close enough that she smells sandal, wood, and danger. Don't apologize. He whispers loud enough for Lucas and the guards to hear. Say it again, but slower. Emma is barely breathing. Her mind is racing, looking for any exit, but she's surrounded. To her left, Daniel seconding command, a scarred man named Marcus watching her with narrow eyes. To her right, the exit blocked by 2 more guards. Sir, please. Emma stammers. It was a misunderstanding. I was on the phone with on the phone, Daniel says slowly. He pulls back slightly, studying her face. He sees the terror there, but he also sees something else. Defiance. She's not crying. She's calculating. He likes that. Daniel turns to Lucas. Lucas, get out. The deal is off. If I see your men near the Brooklyn Navy Yard again, I won't be sending a contract. I'll be sending a hearse. Lucas tries to protest. One look from Daniel shuts him down. Lucas grabs his papers and scrambles out, casting one last confused look at the waitress who somehow just tamed the beast. Once they are alone, Daniel gestures to the empty seat across from him. Sit. I can't, Emma says, gripping the tray. My manager? Your manager works for the building owner. The building owner works for me. Sit. Emma sits. Daniel pours 2 glasses of cognac and slides one toward her. You just saved me a lot of bullets. Lucas was stalling. He thought I was weak. But you, he chuckles darkly. You made him think I was so untouchable that I let my companion serve drinks during a sit down. I am not your companion, Emma says, her voice finding a shred of strength. And I need to leave. My niece is in the hospital. That's who I was talking to. Daniel pauses. The baby? She's 5. She needs surgery. Emma feels tears pricking her eyes. I picked up this shift to pay the deposit, so if you're going to kill me for being unprofessional, just do it quickly. I have somewhere to be. Daniel studies her. He's spent 20 years reading liars and thieves. He knows when someone is telling the truth. He looks at her cheap shoes. The frayed hem of her skirt, the desperation in her hazel eyes. He pulls out his phone and dials. Marcus, he says, not taking his eyes off Emma. Find out where he looks at Emma, last name Hayes, Lily Hayes. She whispers, find where Lily Hayes is admitted, pay the bill, all of it, put her in a private suite. Emma gasps. What? No, I can't. Why would you? Daniel hangs up and sets the phone on the table. Because you owe me now, and I don't deal in small favors. I owe you, Emma asks, stunned. You humiliated a rival boss. Daniel explains calmly. Lucas is going to wonder who you are. He's going to dig. And when he finds out you're just a waitress, he's going to realize I played him. He'll come for you to get to me. Daniel leans forward, eyes intense. You are now involved, Miss Hayes, whether you like it or not. The room spins for Emma. So, what do you want? I need a shield, Daniel says calmly. The Ross family thinks I'm alone, vulnerable. They think they can strike because I have nothing to lose. He takes a sip of cognac. I need them to believe I have a weakness, a new obsession, someone I'm protecting. It will draw them out into the open so I can crush them. You want me to pretend to be your girlfriend. Emma's voice goes up. Not girlfriend. Daniel corrects, standing and buttoning his jacket. My fiancé. You're insane, Emma says. I'm a law student. I have a life. I'm not playing house with the mob. Your niece's surgery cost $80,000. It's already paid, Daniel says coldly. And Lucas Ross has men outside this club right now. If you walk out that door alone, you won't make it to the subway station. He extends his hand toward her. Large, steady, calm, 6 months, Emma. You live in my penthouse. You wear the clothes I buy. You attend the galas I tell you to. You play the part of the woman who tamed Daniel Merritt. In exchange, your niece gets the best medical care in the world. Your student loans are erased, and you walk away with $5 million in cash. Emma looks at his hand. It's a deal with the devil, but her phone buzzes. A text from Rachel. They just moved Lily to a VIP room. They're prepping her for surgery. Emma, what did you do? Thank you, thank you. Emma looks up into Daniel's storm, gray eyes. She realizes there is no going back. She takes his hand. 6 months, she says, but if you touch me without my permission, the deal is OFF. Daniel smirks, closing his fingers around hers. I don't need to force anyone, Emma, he says, pulling her slightly closer. By the end of 6 months, you'll be begging me to touch you. The ride to Daniel's penthouse is dead silent. There, in the back of an armored Cadillac Escalade, separated by a leather console that feels like an ocean, Emma watches the city blur past the tinted windows, the neon lights of Times Square, the dark alleys of Hell's Kitchen. And finally, the towering glass towers of Central Park South. She looks down at her hands, still shaking. Just an hour ago, she was worrying about tips and law school exams. Now she's sitting next to a man whose name appears in redacted FBI files. Stop shaking, Daniel says, not even looking up from his tablet. Fear smells, Emma, and in my world, predators eat fear. I'm not scared of you. Emma lies, her voice barely a whisper. Daniel turns slowly. He reaches out and tucks a loose strand of her hair behind her ear. His fingers are hot against her cold skin. Good, because I'm the safest thing in your life right now. It's everyone else you need to worry about. The penthouse is a fortress in the sky. It takes up the entire top floor of the Millennium Tower, all glass, steel, and black marble, beautiful. Cold and completely empty of warmth, just like its owner. Marcus will have your things brought from your apartment. Daniel says, tossing his keys on a marble kitchen island that costs more than Emma's tuition. My roommates, Emma starts. Think you went on a last-minute study abroad scholarship. It's already been arranged with your university. You hacked my school records. I donated a new library wing. Same result. Daniel walks to the wall of windows overlooking the park. He loosens his tie, the first sign of being human she's seen. Rules, we need rules. He turns to face her. 1, you never leave this apartment without Marcus or me. 2, you don't answer your phone unless it's a number I've approved. 3, we sleep in the same bed. Emma chokes on air. Excuse me, that was not in the deal. I said no touching. I said I wouldn't touch you without permission. Daniel corrects. He moves toward her, smooth, silent like a panther. But we have staff here, maids, chefs, security. If they see us sleeping in separate rooms, word gets out. If word gets out, Lucas knows it's a sham. If Lucas knows, you die. He stops inches from her face. So we sleep in the same bed. I have a king size. Stay on your side. You'll be safe. He pauses, cross the line. His eyes darken, dropping to her lips. And I can't promise I'll be a gentleman. Emma swallows hard. Fine, but I sleep in pajamas. Ugly ones. Flannel. Daniel actually laughs. Low, rusty, like he hasn't used it in years. We have a gala tomorrow night. The St. Clair Foundation, the biggest event of the season. Everyone will be there, politicians, judges, and all 5 families. I can't learn to be a mob wife in 24 hours, Emma says. You're smart. You're a law student. You know how to read people. Just look at them the way you looked at me when you said it. Said what? She asks. He gives her a look. Emma flushes. That was an accident. Was it? He challenges softly. Or did you like the power? Before she can answer, an older woman bustles into the room. Short, stout, carrying a garment bag, Mrs. Rixeye. Daniel greets her with a respectful nod. Fix her, Mrs. Rix. I looks Emma up and down with sharp eyes. Skinny, too American, but she has good bones. She claps her hands. Come, little one, we have work to do. If you are to stand next to Il Diavolo, you must look like a queen. The next 12 hours are pure torture. Emma is scrubbed, waxed, polished, and measured. Mrs. Rix is a complete tyrant with a measuring tape. But when Emma stands in front of the floor, the ceiling mirror the next evening, she doesn't recognize the woman looking back at her. The dress is deep blood, red silk. It clings to every curve of her body like a second skin, backless. Low, with a slit running up her thigh, her hair is in classic old Hollywood waves. Around her neck sits a diamond necklace so heavy it feels like a collar. Perfect, a voice says from the doorway. Emma turns. Daniel is leaning against the doorframe in a perfectly fitted tuxedo. He looks dangerously handsome, but the gun holster visible under his jacket as he adjusts it is a cold reminder of exactly who he is. He walks over and stands behind her. Their reflections meet in the mirror. He looks like the shadow to her light. One detail missing, he whispers. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a ring, a diamond the size of a small stone set in platinum. He slides it onto her finger. Perfect fit, my mother's, he says, his voice empty of emotion. Don't lose it. She killed the last man who tried to take it. Comforting, Emma mutters. Daniel turns her around, his hands gripping her waist. Just remember, you belong to me tonight. You are not Emma the waitress. You are Emma Merritt, the future wife of the head of the family. Let them see the fire. He offers his arm. Shall we go to war, baby? Emma takes a deep breath and takes his arm. Don't call me baby. Make me stop. He smirks. The St. Clair Gala is held at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. The whole place is bathed in soft golden light. The city's predators, all dressed in expensive designer clothes, fill every corner. As Daniel and Emma step out of the limo, the camera flashes are blinding. Paparazzi scream Daniel's name. Head up, Daniel murmurs, his hand firm on the small of her back. Look bored. It drives them crazy. Emma lifts her chin. She adopts the cool, detached expression she's seen on runway models. She feels Daniel's thumb stroke her hip through the silk of her dress. A grounding touch that sends electricity shooting up her spine. Inside, the air smells of lilies and old money. A string quartet plays softly in the corner. As they walk through the crowd, the room parts for them like the Red Sea. Men nod with respect. Women whisper behind champagne glasses, eyeing Emma with envy and judgment. Merit. A booming voice calls out. Daniel stiffens slightly, then relaxes. It's Senator Reeves, a man Emma has seen on the news talking about anti-crime bills. He shakes Daniel's hand warmly. And who is this vision? This is Emma, Daniel says, pulling her slightly closer. My fiancé. The senator's eyes go wide. Fiancé. I didn't know you were the settling down type, Daniel. I met Emma, and priorities changed. Daniel lies smoothly. Emma smiles, extending her hand. A pleasure, Senator. I've been following your work on the zoning reform bill. Clause 14 is particularly ambitious, though I worry about the constitutionality of the eminent domain adjustments. The senator blinks, stunned. She's very well. Read, he stammers. She's brilliant. Daniel corrects. She's studying law. As they move away, Daniel leans down, lips brushing her ear. Clause 14, show off. I have a 4. 0 GPA, Daniel. I'm not just a pretty face. I'm starting to see that, he says. Well, well, isn't this cozy? The voice is like an oil slick on pavement. Emma feels Daniel's muscles turn to granite against her side. They turn to find Lucas Ross standing there, holding a martini. Next to him is his son, Antonio, a younger, nastier version of his father, with eyes that make Emma's skin crawl. "Lucas," Daniel says the word more of a warning than a greeting, so the rumor is true. Lucas sneers, looking at Emma. "The waitress, you really cleaned her up, Daniel. How much did the dress cost? More than her life is worth." Daniel takes a step forward, but Emma squeezes his arm. She remembers the deal. She is the shield. She steps forward, placing herself slightly in front of Daniel. She looks Lucas dead in the eye. She channels the anger of every unpaid bill, every rude customer, every moment of fear from the last 2 days. "It's Emma," she says, her voice steady and cold, "and regarding my worth, Mr. Ross, I'm the woman who made Daniel Merritt say please. What have you ever made him do besides check his watch?" The silence in the area is deafening. Antonio Ross chokes on his drink. Daniel doesn't move, but the corner of his mouth twitches. Lucas's face turns violent red. "You have a sharp tongue, girl. Be careful you don't cut your own throat with it." "Is that a threat, Lucas?" Daniel asks softly. The playfulness is gone. The Reaper is back. "Because if you threaten my future wife in public, I don't need to wait for a sit-down. I can finish this right here in front of the senator." Lucas glares, his jaw working. "Enjoy the party, Daniel, while it lasts." He storms off, Antonio trailing behind, though the sun casts one last look at Emma that promises trouble. "You have a death wish," Daniel hisses as he steers her toward the bar. "I was defending you. I don't need defending. I need you to stay alive." He orders a whiskey. Neat, but that was impressive. "I hate him." Emma admits, sipping champagne. "He looks like a reptile." He is, and he's desperate. That makes him dangerous. Daniel's eyes are constantly scanning the room, checking exits, checking hands, checking reflections. "Dance with me," he says suddenly. "What?" Ross is watching from the balcony. "We need to sell this. We need to look in love." He sets down the glass and leads her to the dance floor. The orchestra is playing a waltz. Daniel pulls her into his frame. His hand is large and warm on her back, guiding her effortlessly. For a moment, Emma forgets where she is. She forgets the guns, the threats, the contract. She only feels the strength of his body. The rhythm of his movement, they move together like they've been dancing for years. "You're a good dancer for a gangster," she murmurs, looking up at him. "My mother insisted on lessons," said a man who can't lead on the floor, can't lead in life. Daniel's gaze drops to her lips. "The intensity is overwhelming. Emma, about that first night when you called me that baby," she teases softly, emboldened by the adrenaline. "Stop it," he warns, but his voice is strained. "Why did you say it? I told you I was talking to my niece." "I know, but when you said it, you weren't looking at your niece, you were looking at me." Emma feels a blush rise up her neck. It was the heat of the moment. "Maybe," Daniel whispers, leaning closer. "Or maybe you saw something in me that isn't a monster. I haven't decided yet," she whispers back. Suddenly, Daniel stops. His whole body goes rigid. He isn't looking at her anymore. He's looking over her shoulder. At a waiter moving through the crowd toward them. The waiter is holding a tray of champagne, but his eyes are fixed on Daniel's back, and his hand is sliding under the velvet napkin on the tray. Down, Daniel roars. He shoves Emma hard, sending her crashing to the marble floor. 3 silenced shots tear through the air right where Emma's head had been a second before. A crystal sculpture shatters. Screams erupt. The music dies. Emma scrambles backward, her dress tearing. She looks up to see Daniel moving. He doesn't run. He charges. The assassin raises the gun again, but Daniel is already there. He grabs the man's wrist, twisting it with a sickening crack. The gun clatters to the floor. Daniel drives a knee into the man's stomach, then grabs him by the throat and slams him against a marble pillar. "Who sent you?" Daniel roars. The assassin gasps, blood trickling from his mouth. He reaches for a knife on his belt. Daniel doesn't hesitate. He draws his own weapon and knocks the man across the temple. The assassin crumples. Chaos everywhere. Guests stampeding toward exits. Security swarming the room. Daniel turns, his chest heaving. His eyes wild. He scans the floor until he finds Emma. She's sitting in the shattered glass, shaking. A smear of blood on her arm from the fall. The rage on Daniel's face vanishes, replaced by pure, raw terror. He holsters his gun and runs to her, sliding on his knees to get to her level. "Emma, Emma, look at me. Are you hit?" He runs his hands over her frantically, checking for bullet wounds. "I'm okay," she gasps. "My arm just glass." Daniel looks at the cut. His expression hardens into something darker than midnight. He rips his pocket square out and presses it against the wound. "Marcus," he bellows without looking away from her. Marcus appears through the smoke, gun drawn. Boss exits are secured. Lone shooter. Ross's men are gone. Get the CAR. Daniel snarls. "We're leaving." Daniel scoops Emma up into his arms like she weighs nothing. She buries her face in his neck, smelling the gunpowder and the sandalwood. "You saved me," she whispers, shock starting to set in. "I told you." Daniel growls, carrying her through the screaming crowd toward the emergency exit. "I protect what's mine," and Ross just made the last mistake of his life. As they burst out into the cool night air, sirens wailing in the distance, Emma realizes the truth. The game is over. The pretend engagement is gone. They are in a WAR now, and as she clings to Daniel Merritt, she realizes the scariest part isn't the bullets. It's that in his arms, in the middle of all that violence, she feels safer than she has ever felt in her entire life. The safe house isn't a bunker. It's a sprawling mansion on the edge of the cliffs in Montauk. The ocean crashes violently against the rocks below, the sound matching the chaos inside Daniel's mind. It's been 3 hours since the shooting. Daniel hasn't spoken a single word. He deposited Emma in the master bathroom, all black slate and white towels. "Sit," he commanded, rough like gravel. Emma sat on the edge of the massive bathtub. She's shivering. Her red dress is ruined, torn at the hem, dusty, a smear of blood on her left arm from where she fell on the glass. Daniel washes his hands at the sink with surgical precision. The water turns pink as he scrubs the blood from his knuckles. He doesn't look at her. He can't look at her. If he looks at her, he'll see the fear he put in her eyes. He turns off the tap, dries his hands, and grabs a first aid kit. He kneels between her legs, just like at the gala. But this time the adrenaline is gone, replaced by cold, suffocating guilt. "Give me your arm," he murmurs. Emma extends her arm. The cut isn't deep, but it's ugly. Daniel cleans it with antiseptic. She hisses in pain, flinching. "I'm sorry," he whispers, his hands pausing. "I'm sorry, Emma. It's not your fault," she says softly. "It is entirely my fault." He doesn't look up. He focuses on the bandage. "I dragged you into the light. I put a target on your back to take it off mine. I was arrogant. I thought I could control everything. Tonight proved I can't." He finishes the bandage and finally looks up. His gray eyes are haunted. "The deal is off." Emma blinks. "What?" "Marcus is outside. He has a car ready. You're going to a private airfield. You'll go to Switzerland. I have a chalet there. You'll stay until I wipe the Ross family off the map. Then you'll be given a new identity, new name, new life. You'll never see me again." He turns away, unable to bear looking at her. "Your niece's bills will be paid forever." But you are done with Daniel Merritt. Emma stares at his broad back. She sees the tension in his shoulders, the isolation of a man who believes he is poison to everything he touches. She thinks about the way he shielded her body with his own. She thinks about the way he ran to her on that floor. Most women would run right now. Most women would take the ticket to Switzerland and never look back. But Emma Vance has spent her whole life fighting poverty, fighting for her sister, fighting for her education. She doesn't run. She stands up. She walks over to him. She places her hand on his back. He flinches like she burned him. "No," she says. Daniel spins around, stunned. "Did you not hear me? They shot at you. Next time they won't miss. If I leave now, they WIN. Emma says, her voice gaining strength. "If I disappear, Lucas knows he got to you. He knows you're weak. He'll hunt you down, and then he'll hunt me down anyway, because I'm a loose end. I can protect you better if you're far away." Daniel roars, "And who protects you?" Emma shouts back. The silence that follows is heavy. Daniel stares at her, completely stunned. "You have guards, Daniel. You have soldiers. But you don't have anyone who actually cares if you live or die. You are completely alone." Emma takes a step closer. "I'm not leaving. We have a deal. 6 months. I don't break contracts." Daniel looks down at her. He sees the fire in her eyes. He feels something crack inside his chest. A wall he built 20 years ago, the night his father was murdered right in front of him. "You are a foolish woman," he whispers, but there is no bite to it. "And you are a terrible boss," she counters. "You haven't even asked if I'm hungry." Daniel lets out a breath that is half laugh, half something else entirely. He reaches out. He cups her face in his large hands. His thumbs trace her cheekbones. "Emma," he breathes, his voice dropping to that dangerous velvet whisper. "You stay, and I will burn the world down before I let them touch you again. I know," she whispers. He leans in. The air between them crackles. His lips hover inches from hers, testing the boundary, waiting for her to pull away. When she doesn't, when her eyes flutter shut, he closes the distance. The kiss isn't gentle, it's desperate. It tastes of whiskey and survival. Daniel kisses her like he's drowning and she's oxygen. His hands tangle in her hair, pulling her flush against him. Emma wraps her arms around his neck, pulling him closer, anchoring him to the earth. For a moment, there is no mob war. No blood, just two people who looked death in the face and chose each other. Daniel pulls back first, breathing hard. His forehead rests against hers. "Go to sleep," he commands, his voice strained. "If I stay in this room another minute, I'm going to break my promise about waiting 6 months. Emma's heart hammers. She wants him to break the promise, but she nods. "Good night, Daniel." He walks to the door, pausing with his hand on the frame. "Lock it. Don't open it for anyone but me." 3 weeks pass. The war with the Ross family turns into a stalemate of silence. Which is worse than the shooting? Business is bleeding. Shipments are being intercepted. Police raids are hitting Daniel's warehouses with suspicious accuracy. They're back in the city, but the penthouse feels like a prison. Daniel is barely sleeping. He spends his nights in his study, surrounded by his inner circle, Marcus, his enforcer, and Victor Walsh, the family lawyer and advisor. Emma had been kept in the background, playing the role of the beautiful, traumatized fiancée. But Emma doesn't do background well. While Daniel is in meetings, she's in the library, reading, not her novels, but the files Daniel left on the secure server. And she notices something. It's a Tuesday night. A storm is battering New York, rain lashing the floor to ceiling windows. The mood in the penthouse is toxic. "We lost another shipment in Jersey," Marcus says, pacing, a glass of scotch in his hand. The feds were waiting. They knew the exact container number, Daniel. Daniel sits on the leather sofa, staring at the unlit fireplace. Exhausted, only 3 people knew that container number. Me, you, and Victor. Victor, a sleek man in his 50s with silver hair and an expensive suit, shakes his head. And the harbor master. The Ross family has deep pockets. They could have bribed the port authority. The harbor master has been on my payroll for 10 years. Daniel snaps. He knows I'd skin him alive. Then we have a leak, Marcus says. We need to clean out the lower ranks. It's not the lower ranks. The voice comes from the spiral staircase. All 3 men turn. Emma is standing there, not in an evening gown. She's wearing Daniel's oversized dress shirt and reading glasses. She's holding a stack of printed spreadsheets. Emma, go back upstairs. Daniel warns, this is not for you. You're losing because you're looking for a soldier. Emma says, walking down the stairs. She ignores the warning in Daniel's eyes. She walks right up to the coffee table and slams the papers down. You need to be looking for an accountant. Victor chuckles condescendingly. My dear, stick to spending Daniel's money. Leave the business to the men. Emma turns her gaze on Victor. Same look she gives difficult professors. I'm a paralegal, Victor. I specialize in corporate liability and forensic accounting. And your shell companies are sloppy. Dead silence. Daniel sits up straighter. Explain. Emma spreads the papers out. I was bored, so I looked at the acquisition logs for the warehouse properties. Specifically the shell corporation that owns the Jersey Depot. It's registered in the Cayman Islands under Merit Holdings. Standard stuff. She points to a highlighted line. But the annual filing fees for the holding company, they're not being paid from the main account. They're being paid by a secondary LLC called Janus Global. So, Marcus asks, confused. So, Emma continues, I looked up Janus Global. Dead end on the surface. But the IP address used to file their digital tax returns traces back to a residential address in Scarsdale. She turns slowly to look at Victor. Victor, don't you have a summer home in Scarsdale? Victor's face goes the color of ash. He stands up abruptly. This is ridiculous. She's been hacking our files, Daniel. She's a security risk. She's right. Daniel says softly. He's not looking at the papers. He's looking at Victor. The IP address, is it yours? Daniel, I served your father. I served you. Victor stammers, backing away. The container number. Emma cuts in, ruthless. It was in the legal manifest sent to the insurance adjuster. Victor handles the insurance. Daniel stands. The predator is back. He walks slowly toward the man who has been like an uncle to him. Why? Daniel asks. Just that, simply, why? Victor hits the wall. He's trembling. Ross, he offered me immunity. The feds are building a RICO case, Daniel. I didn't want to die in prison, so you sold me. Daniel's voice is completely empty of emotion. You sold my men. You sold her. She's nothing. Victor spits, pointing at Emma. She's a waitress, a distraction. You're losing your edge, Daniel. You're weak because of her. Victor's hand dips into his jacket. Don't, Daniel says, but Victor pulls the gun. Before he can level it, boom, one shot, echoing through the penthouse. Victor drops to his knees, a look of pure shock on his face. He falls forward onto the rug. Emma screams, covering her ears. Daniel stands there, his arm extended, smoke curling from the barrel of his silver pistol. He hadn't hesitated. He hadn't blinked. Marcus checks the body. He's done, boss. Daniel doesn't lower the gun right away. He stares at the body of the man who betrayed him. Then he turns to Emma. She is staring at the dead man. Pale, but her jaw is set. She looks from the body to Daniel. He was going to kill you, she says, flat. Steady, yes. Then you didn't have a choice. Daniel lets out a ragged breath. He pulls her into his arms. He buries his face in her hair. She smells of vanilla and rain, the only clean thing in his dirty world. You found the rat. He murmurs into her hair. You saved us again. I told you. She mumbles against his chest. I'm not just a pretty face. He pulls back, looking down at her with raw hunger. Marcus, Daniel says, not looking away from Emma. Clean this up. Get the crew ready. We know Ross's playbook now. Tonight we end the war. Daniel takes Emma's hand. Come with me. He leads her, not to the safe room, but to the bedroom. He kicks the door shut and locks it. The storm rages outside, but the storm inside is fiercer. You watched me kill a man, Daniel says, backing her against the door. And you didn't run. I'm done running, Emma says. She reaches up and unbuttons his collar. Her hands are shaking, but not from fear. Daniel groans, a low, raw sound. He captures her lips, kissing her with a ferocity that borders on fire. He lifts her up, wrapping her legs around his waist, and carries her to the bed. Say it. He growls against her neck as they fall onto the mattress. Say what? She gasps. He pulls back, his eyes burning into hers. Call me what you called me that first night. Call me what makes you mine. Emma runs her fingers through his dark hair. She pulls him down to her. Baby, she whispers, Daniel Merritt, the devil of New York, surrenders. The end of the war doesn't come with a bang. It comes with a whisper. Thanks to Emma's discovery of the Janus global accounts, Daniel doesn't just find a rat. He finds a MAP, a complete map to Lucas Ross's entire operation, the bribe ledgers, the offshore accounts, the exact location of Ross's safe house in the Catskills. Daniel doesn't send an army, he goes himself. With Marcus and a team of 4, he takes Emma not into the line of fire, but close enough to watch. She sits in the armored SUV at the base of the private drive. She watches the tactical feed on a tablet. She sees the thermal heat signatures of Daniel's team breaching the perimeter. She sees the swift, brutal efficiency of the Merritt family when they stop playing defense. 20 minutes, that's all it takes. The radio crackles. Clear. Bring her up. The SUV winds up the snowy driveway to a rustic lodge. When Emma steps out, the air smells of pine and gunpowder. Marcus is waiting at the door. He's in the study. Daniel wants you to see this. He wants you to know it's truly over. Emma walks into the study, a warm room, a roaring fire, a sharp contrast to the violence that just happened outside. Lucas Ross is on his knees in the center of the room, beaten, bloody, but alive. Daniel stands over him, holding a glass of Ross's own scotch. Daniel looks up as Emma enters. His face is hard, the face of the boss, but his eyes soften the moment they land on her. Emma, come here. She walks to his side. He doesn't touch her, but his presence wraps around her like a shield. Lucas, Daniel says, looking down at his enemy, you remember Emma, the waitress you said wasn't worth the price of her dress. Lucas spits blood onto the rug. Go to hell, Merritt. You think this changes anything. The commission will. The commission knows you were stealing from the pension fund. Daniel interrupts. Emma found the transfers. You were skimming from your OWN allies, Lucas. No one is coming to save you. You are alone. Lucas's eyes dart to Emma. Fear, genuine, cold fear, finally enters his gaze. The girl found it. The queen found it. Daniel corrects. He crouches down, eye level with the defeated boss. I'm going to give you a choice, Lucas, because I'm feeling generous. You sign over your territories in Brooklyn and Queens to me, and you disappear, or Daniel taps the rim of his glass. We can finish the conversation we started at the gala. Lucas looks at the gun on the table. He looks at Daniel. Then he looks at the contract Marcus slaps down in front of him. With a shaking hand, Lucas signs. Daniel stands up. Smart choice. Marcus, get him out of my sight. If he's still in New York by sunrise, kill him. As Lucas is dragged away, the tension leaves the room. Just Daniel and Emma now. The war is over. The Ross family is broken. The Merritt empire is absolute. But there is one contract left to deal with. 2 days later, the 6-month mark arrives. The penthouse is quiet. Rain has returned to New York, washing away the grime of the city. Emma is packing, not the designer gowns or the jewels Daniel gave her, but her OLD clothes, the jeans, the sweaters, the war. Not sneakers. She hears the door open. Daniel walks in. He's holding a manila envelope. He stops when he sees the suitcase on the bed. His jaw tightens. A muscle feathers in his cheek. You're packing, he says. It's been 6 months, Daniel. Emma says, not looking at him. She folds a t-shirt with trembling hands. The deal is up. You won. You're safe. Daniel places the envelope on the bed. This is it. $5 million. Tax-free. Wired to an account in Zurich. And the deed to an apartment in Paris, fully furnished. Emma looks at the envelope. It's everything she ever wanted. Financial freedom, safety for her niece, a fresh start. Thank you, she whispers. You fulfilled your end of the bargain, Daniel says. His voice is completely empty of feeling. The walls back up. You were a perfect shield. Is that all I was? Emma asks, finally looking at him. Daniel turns away, walking to the window. It's what you agreed to be. That's not what I asked. Daniel grips the windowsill. Evelyn, leave. Take the money and go. You don't belong in this world. You SAW what I did to Victor. You saw what I did to Lucas. I am a monster. I have blood on my hands that will never wash off. I know, Emma says. She walks across the room, stopping right behind him. But you didn't force me to stay at the safe house. You didn't force me to find the accounts. I chose this. You chose survival. Daniel spins around, eyes blazing. But you don't have to survive anymore. You can live. Go find a nice lawyer, a doctor, someone who comes home at 5 o'clock and doesn't check their car for bombs. I don't want a nice lawyer. Emma yells back, tears springing to her eyes. I want you. Why? Daniel roars, the pain finally breaking through his voice. Why would you want a life of always looking over your shoulder? Because when I look over my shoulder, you're there, Emma says, her voice breaking. Because you saved my niece without asking for a single thing. Because you treat me like an equal, not a prop. Because I love you, you idiot. Silence. Just the sound of the rain. Daniel stares at her, his chest heaving, the most feared man in New York, completely undone by a girl in a sweatshirt. You love me, he whispers, like the words are in a foreign language. Yes. Emma steps closer. She places her hands on his chest, right over his heart. It's beating wildly. I love the monster. I love the man. I love the way you look at me when you think I'm not noticing. She reaches into her pocket and pulls out the ring, his mother's ring. She had taken it off to pack. She takes his hand and places the ring in his palm. If you want me to leave, Daniel, tell me to go. Tell me you feel nothing. Look me in the eye and tell me I was just an employee. Daniel looks at the ring. Then he looks at Emma. The walls crumble, the ice melts. He drops the ring and grabs her, pulling her into a crushing embrace. He lifts her off the floor, burying his face in her neck. I can't. He groans. God help me. I can't let you go. You're the only thing that makes sense. You're the only light I have. He sets her down, but doesn't let go. He frames her face with his hands, searching her eyes. If you stay, there's no going back. No Paris apartment, no escape. You will be mine until the day I die, and I will burn the world for you every single day. Emma smiles, wiping a tear from his cheek. I don't want Paris, she whispers. I want to be right here. Daniel picks up the ring from the floor. His hands, usually so steady with a gun, are shaking slightly. He slides the ring back onto her finger. Then stay, he commands softly, marry me, be the queen of this city. Emma looks at the diamond, then up at the man who would kill and die for her. Yes, she says. Daniel smirks, the old arrogance back, but softer now, warmed by something real. He pulls her close, his lips hovering over hers. Good choice, he murmurs. Now come here, baby. Emma laughs, wrapping her arms around his neck. Say it again, she challenges. Daniel kisses her, a forever kind of promise. I love you. He whispers against her mouth. Is that slow enough? Their wedding is the event of the decade. They don't hide, they don't elope. They marry in St. Patrick's Cathedral with the entire city watching. A statement. The lion has found his lioness, and the Merritt family is stronger than ever. Emma finishes law school, graduating top of her class. She doesn't become a corporate lawyer. She becomes the legal counsel for Merritt Legitimate Enterprises, turning the family business into an impenetrable fortress of legal steel. She is the velvet glove over Daniel's iron fist. Years later, inside the obsidian room, the music is thumping and the drinks are flowing. At table 4, the most powerful couple in New York is watching the floor. A young, nervous waiter approaches with a tray of drinks. His hands are shaking. He places a glass in front of Daniel. The glass wobbles. It spills, splashing onto Daniel's cuff. The waiter freezes, terrified. The room goes silent. Daniel looks at the stain, then up at the kid. His eyes are cold, but before he can speak, Emma places her hand on his arm. She leans in and whispers something in his ear. Daniel's expression softens. He looks at his wife. A smirk plays on his lips. He looks back at the waiter. Accidents happen. Daniel says calmly, "Clean it up and bring my wife another champagne." The waiter scrambles away, breathing the biggest sigh of relief of his life. "You're getting soft, old man," Emma teases, sipping her drink. Daniel leans back, draping an arm over her chair, pulling her close. "I'm not soft," he says. "I just listen to my boss." Emma laughs. The sound rings out over the whole club. The sound of a woman who walked into the fire and came out holding the flame. She is no longer the waitress who whispered a mistake. She is the woman who tamed the devil, one whisper at a time, and that, right there, is the story of how one accidental word turned a waitress into a queen. It proves that sometimes the biggest mistakes lead to the greatest destinies, and that even the most dangerous men have a weakness